Hello everyone, I'm Anton, this is Kate, it is Privacy City podcast, and today we welcome you to our great episode with Sam Solberg. We will talk on different topics, but mostly on like privacy tech, AI solutions, and we will talk about it in the details. So, good day, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Uh,
So, great. So, please tell us a bit about yourself. Are you a true privacy tech enthusiast? Oh no.
I'll start with a little bit of my background. I actually started my journey as a high tech lawyer. I was focusing
Oh,
on everything from investment rounds to IP to corporate commercial matters, all that fun stuff. And in 2017, in one of the deals, a DPA crossed my desk, and that changed everything. So I discovered through that DPA the world of privacy, and I was immediately hooked. The crossroads between tech, innovation, law, politics, geopolitics, everything combined in this nice bucket called privacy. So I shifted my career focus to privacy, worked as a privacy consultant and external data protection officer, DPO, for global tech companies. And after a couple of years, getting more and more frustrated about how privacy was being approached and dealt with, I co-founded Hoggo, and we're a startup that streamlines third-party service providers and security assessments. So yeah, I think the simple answer to your question, if I'm a true privacy tech enthusiastic, is yes, and a big yes, 100% privacy tech enthusiastic. Having said that, though, I do want to clarify a couple of things about this concept privacy tech or that term privacy tech. And given that it's a relatively young sector, there's a there's a lack of clear definition of what that actually means. And from my experience and research and work in the sector, I kind of categorized it into three different categories. So
mhm.
it might be a little unorthodox, my categorization, but it's something that works for me. So the first category is something that I call glorified spreadsheets. Right, this category mainly includes tools that can be useful, but in the end aren't offering much more than a glorified spreadsheet, and they usually include a lot of manual work and expert knowledge to actually use it. So you need the actual privacy pros to manage it and use it.
Sure. Mhm.
The second category I define as the PTs or PETs. I don't know, everyone says it a little differently. Basically, privacy enhancing technologies. And these are defined as privacy tech solutions that assist in protecting privacy by focusing only on the data itself. So you can think of synthetic data or encryptions, or like the bring your own key concept, or these very data specific, tech specific solutions. And then the third one is the automation of processes and challenging the status quo. And this category leverages tech, also AI, and tries to remove the burdens relating to privacy in the day to day, in the processes, in the governance, in the management. And also, this is something that I relate to very much: is understanding that we're living in different times. We're not, it's not having documents in a folder and all kinds of data is there and it's not going anywhere. So all the approaches are not relevant anymore, or a lot less relevant. We need to be open minded to find new solutions and translate them into technology that actually helps. But yeah, definitely privacy tech enthusiast.
Yeah, I can see that now for sure. Yeah, so privacy has to be alive, not just put in some, folder and live there.
Right. I mean, and that's right. That's also the one of the beauties of the GDPR, the way that it was drafted, and the whole purpose behind it was that it's drafted very broadly, which brings a lot of uncertainties into the market, but it also allows to interpret it with the developments of technology and the market. And this is what I feel um, more the older generation, even, I don't want to do any ageism here or anything like that, but that have this issue of saying, no, this is the way we've always done it, this is where we have to continue doing it, instead of saying, wait a minute, times are changing, let's reevaluate what we're working with.
Sure. Yeah, it's a challenge that made us better, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting because, well, Excel covers pretty much a lot of functions in the enterprise still. Like it was invented years and ages ago, before the dinosaurs, probably, and still it covers everything, even considering the GDPR. So the privacy tech in general is an interesting topic of talk. So you're saying that we have spreadsheets, that we have some pets or privacy-enhancing technologies, and we have software specialized, of course. But in general, as a baseline, at what stage we are now? So is the domain just beginning, or is something that is well established and we are working on enhancing that, or we are just enjoying the benefits? What stage of privacy technology is like existing now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I get to guess as my previous lawyer self would then say, well, that depends.
Yeah.
I would say I would look at it three different pillars, I guess. The first one would be what I briefly addressed also is this question of definition. What do you define? How do you define privacy tech? And it's I compare it often to the cybersecurity market about 20 years ago, where everyone kind of knew that there's this thing called cybersecurity. We need it. We don't know what it means. We don't know where to buy it from. We don't know what to buy. We don't know who in the company is responsible for it. And then there was no such thing as a CISO. Just like there was no such thing as a DPO. And over the years, we all know that cybersecurity is now very established, well defined into verticals. Everyone knows more or less, who in the company is responsible for it. There's usually a huge budget for it, and that is what's lacking in the privacy tech sector. So I see it because we're still early on, and it's just something that we need to work on, mainly by educating the market. Educating the market on what privacy tech is and the solutions that it can provide. The second pillar I see is the market itself, right? The constant changes in regulations. So basically, on a monthly basis, we have new laws coming in, especially now with the states and the state level laws that are popping up literally monthly. Globally, we see China, Brazil, Canada, everybody, Australia, constantly updating and changing their laws, and that brings a huge challenge on companies, especially smaller companies that are trying to keep up. And that, I believe, also will give a push to look for technological solutions, because manual is just not possible anymore, and
Yeah,
resource
it's
draining,
true.
right? And this one, the third one, kind of ties together with that, is actually seeing the benefits of privacy tech and technological solutions that you can use, and leveraging that internally, saving time, saving resources. But for that, as I also mentioned previously, we need a switch of a mindset of saying, okay, there is technology out there that will make our life easier by a lot. But for that, the I guess the burden of proof is on us, on the people
Yeah.
building the tech and pushing it to the market to actually bring value. And that is something that, sadly, in the private tech sector, I've seen a little less, because it's more of like looking for finding a band-aid instead of healing the wound. And yeah, so I do think, yeah, we're pretty much at the beginning, and there's still a lot more to come.
But it's a nice journey nonetheless, because if you are just in any house in a small firm, you have to juggle everything. Like you have to work in compliance, work on tax, work on contracts, educating everyone around you, because everyone thinks that it will be okay to work without second thoughts, and you have to like always pause them and say, guys, we need to think seriously about this stuff. GDPR is not a trifle this as well, because yes, now we are building this thing, and in years, when the technical debt will be just too much, we may not be able to make this thing compliant at all.
Yeah,
So,
that's always a challenge, and that's not something I preach a lot to to companies that are not privacy tech, to tech companies, is this concept of privacy by design, and understanding that it's not something that you want to brush under the carpet and forget about, and then a year later realize that, okay, there's no way we can change this, and then you have a product that you I mean, you could use it, but the risks are just too high. So it's definitely it all comes back to awareness, educating. But I agree with you with the challenge, right? Because you have businesses pushing to build. Sales are pushing sale, and the DPO. Best case scenario in a small company usually doesn't have a DPO, but whoever became responsible for privacy is sitting there and was, excuse me, may I?
Yeah,
But
okay,
still,
so
it's like challenge. It's well, the team is one challenge, but the technology is a different challenge altogether. And Anton is like our resident AI expert, so I probably expect him to ask something about the AI right now.
yeah, thank you. So you talked about this journey, this path of privacy we have to go to move on, and imagine this as a ride on some car on some highway, and here we see the AI hijacking, like say, "Hello guys, can I step in this whole privacy world?" Like you say, "Of course, ChatGPT, please build me a privacy program now." Enter, and nothing happens because he's just, I don't know, provides general recommendations and so on. But on the other hand, if you give him a good prompt, he could say something, but maybe not very useful or wrong because he doesn't know all laws or maybe imagines some. So the question is the impact of AI on privacy tech as you see it. Well, can we actually substitute DPOs, or should we use it only as a tool to describe some processes or help us to innovate? What is the best usage maybe of AI, not just being buzzword?
Yeah, it was a great question, and there's a lot to unpack there. So funny that you mentioned ChatGPT because I remember the first thing I did when ChatGPT came out, my prompt was draft me a DPA, a U.S. company, serving a EU customer. I gave him a couple of details, and I don't want to brag or anything, but I could draft a DPA in my sleep. So it was just like, I want to see what this guy can do. And I was impressed, but there was a lot of things that weren't right.
Sure.
But given my experience, I was just like, I knew exactly what, okay, that's wrong. That's wrong. Well, this one's not quite right. And this, so I immediately saw it had huge potential, as in, providing that first draft, and then you could just tweak it, but you still need to know what you're asking, what to tweak and what to look for. So it's, that's some ChatGPT itself. With AI in general in the tech sector, I'd say every company, new feature, new solution, everyone has AI in it. And that's that buzzword, right? From my experience, the irony is that many of them don't even know what that means, right? They just say, "Yeah, we use AI." Okay, what do you use the AI for? Is it the product? Is it, are you using it internally to draft emails? What part is AI? I can speak for our journey in Hoggo. So we've implemented AI, and it took us quite a while and a lot of testing to find a solution that it reaches the level of consistency and accuracy that we need. And even now, we still have a human in the loop just to double check the outcome before we actually put it out. We even spoke to expert consultants along the journey to try to kind of figure out which architecture or which tools to use. And even they didn't know exactly what to tell us because it was so constantly changing, constantly new. And this Gen AI is great, but when you're looking at a topic that's so sensitive as privacy and so complex and so always so specific, then you're not really like the regular Gen AI isn't gonna solve that problem. So it was quite a journey, and I learned a lot about AI solutions. So generally, when I hear companies say they use AI, especially privacy tech companies, I usually, my initial reaction is suspicion. And so like, what are you exactly doing? Because I know it's not that easy. But in those cases, yeah, it's just a buzzword. However, doing the homework and implementing it and finding the solutions and actually building with it, if it's done right, it can really bring a lot of value and expedite and just make these ongoing daily processes so much more easy. But it takes a lot of legwork to get to that point. I'm not quite sure if that answers your question. You asked,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
It does, because I have similar opinion. Because you have to keep AI under human control in this stage. Because you can't warrant that if you use AI to say something to your user, to persuade him in something like do this way or do that way. You cannot be sure, because it's also always possible it will be hallucinating and so on, and you have to double check it, of course. On the other hand, there are companies, for example, that provide synthetic data development in order to train different models, and they can use AI in order to develop such training models and maybe develop some developed actually personal data that which is not real, but to help to understand the way people think, people cooperate, and so on. That is a good way of using it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is now you're talking the models and training models, and there's always this was our learning curve at the beginning. We also took that approach, and we saw maybe fine tuning, and there was the fine tuning of OpenAI and all kinds of different solutions. And we even when we fine tune, we put the temperature really on the lowest level. It's still hallucinating. So we're actually using RAG retrieval with the outputs are really limited to what your prompts are. Like you're prompting a specific document, you're not prompting the web, and that allows for a lot higher accuracy. So we're close to I'd say about 98% on the accuracy. That involved a lot of prompt engineering and all these different terminologies and even new jobs that nobody ever heard of before. But yeah, definitely, if done right, then it can be extremely valuable.
Yeah,
Well,
imagine, sorry, it last maybe think about AI. Imagine someone claims that he can go with you to the doctor and ask the right questions to the doctor in order for the doctor to tell you, like, really, to give a really good medical advice. I have a good prompt, yeah, to the medical specialist. It will cure you for sure.
It's so true. Like the prompt engineering, when I was first exposed to that and I started working with it, so me together with our CTO, we did weekends and nights just trying to figure out the right prompts, and it could go down to one word in that prompt that can change the whole answer, or the accuracy, the consistency is also key, right? Because you want the fact that you get the right answer from one source, it doesn't mean that you're going to get the same right answer from a different one. So it is a lot about knowing what to ask, and this is where the privacy experience and the privacy pros come into play. Because without that knowledge, if you don't know what to ask and you don't know how to QA the answers, then it's really not that useful.
Yeah, for sure.
now that you guys mentioned like accuracy, mentioned the prompt engineering, everything, I'm just become curious because there is always this one problem. This, for example, is management that you have to demonstrate somehow that you are compliant, that all your privacy matters are like taken care of, everything is under control. And there are like standards and like benchmarks, frameworks. We comply with all of them. We are just like 100% compliant of everything. And well, let's talk about privacy compliance best practices and standards, because prompt engineering is kind of linked to standards. Because if we have like ISO, or maybe we have a GDPR, any kind of benchmark, it's so easy to believe that one day you just be able to to tell like please tell me what should I do to be compliant with Article 13, for example. And at some point we have to explain or maybe show to strangers on the road that we are compliant usually, and we do this through different things like privacy seals maybe, or something of the kind. But can it be like a single document, like a passport of the firm, for example, or maybe some badge that is filled with info that can be generated through some software, for example, by privacy software, nonetheless, and just shown to everyone. What do you think of this approach?
Well, I love the approach for reasons that's
But is it like doable, you know?
there's a lot of challenges. So first, I'll start with a maybe not such a popular approach, or not even approach. Saying that this concept of privacy compliance is a myth, because you can be compliant 1 second and then the next second you're not. So it's an ongoing thing, I used to say to my previous clients that they want to say they tell me make me GDPR compliant, and I said there's no such thing. You can have all the processes in place.
Forever, maybe GDPR compliant forever. Now.
Right, yeah, right. So it's like I don't know. You get a SOC 2 or you get an ISO. It says okay, you have SOC 2. That doesn't make you compliant if if you're not following the controls. Then it doesn't make you compliant. So that is, you can say SOC 2. There's no such thing as compliant. There's no SOC 2 compliancy. Just like the GDPR compliance. So the words that we use usually is we're in line with the GDPR. We've implemented the structure and the requirements of the GDPR, but it doesn't mean that you can be compliant on an ongoing basis. But that's a general note on that. I just had to get it out because I see a lot of websites where it says they have this seal. I don't know, they design it themselves as GDPR compliant. It's like,
like GDPR ready.
GDPR ready is No, but those are, or just like even if it's just said GDPR, but the compliance is something that. But fair enough. I mean, that's my nitpicky lawyer background of like, well, technically it's not really.
I think low-key every one of us is thinking that when they see like, different pages on the websites, we're like, well,
Right.
kind of suspicious. How did you manage that?
Yeah, I used to tell the younger consultants that if they're doing a vendor review and the first thing they see on the page is GDPR compliant, then this is where you start to become suspicious.
Yeah, but still it means that they did something. They like sat down,
Right.
they thought about it, maybe drafted a couple of documents, made some vendor assessments. Still, they did at least something.
It usually means that they did something, that they're aware that they have to do something, or that they're in the process of doing something, which is already great because there's a lot of companies not even there. But back to your initial question about the standardization, it's something that I fantasized about a lot in the past years. Back when I was still a lawyer and a consultant, where I was spending way too many hours reviewing third-party like vendors that my clients want to work with. And this concept of we actually call it a passport is something that came up a while ago, and it takes a while to get that into motion and actually build something around it. But if we look at the current state, we can already say that it's kind of become a market, not a standard, but even an expectation that companies publish their privacy stance or maturity on the website, right? So you can see more and more of these things called trust centers, where they put in, they explain how they approach things, and you have your privacy policy in there, and your DPA, or maybe your sub processes. So that it's becoming more and more of a common practice, but there's no standardization. So any company can do it differently. You can have on one page a privacy policy, on a whole other page. For example, if you go into big companies like Microsoft and you try to find a privacy policy and a DPA, which one applies to what and where, you're in there for hours just trying to figure out what policies apply, and then you have to actually go in and read them, and then you're looking a lot. For professionals like us, we know exactly what we're looking for, right? So we can go through a document and okay, this and this and this. If that's okay, then generally, but anybody else would take hours, and they wouldn't know even if they read it, they wouldn't know how to assess it. They wouldn't actually know how to say, okay, now I've read it. What does it actually mean? Right. And thereby also how do we
GPT, please give me top 5 steps.
exactly. So that would be like a copy paste of the whole policy, and then hi, please tell me if it's okay to use this vendor, right?
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT will come with generally it's okay, but you should consult with a lawyer because this is not legal.
This is not a legal advice here.
So this is how we came to Hoggo, to the Trust Hub that we built. And you can think of it as a directory of AI-generated company profiles, which we call passports or privacy passports. And they contain all the information about a company's privacy and security posture. And it's in a very simple, clear, and consistent format. We also use AI. The AI assesses and then generates a code which feeds into our algorithm, and our algorithm then calculates a trust grade, which is an objective assessment of a company based on internationally recognized frameworks, legal laws, and even academic papers. It just allows, especially companies that don't, or people that don't have the expertise to understand what a company is doing, by just looking at the trust grade, understand if they're trustworthy on an objective level. And it makes that whole process a lot easier. Now, if somebody wants to, read a little bit more about something specific that was flagged in the passport, then all the information is in the passport itself, so they can just click the link and then go to that exact spot. So the goal here is to become that new market standard, right? It's becoming a standard that is objective, that is that companies can use as a benchmark to understand what the market is looking for. Because especially again, the smaller companies, if they go to outsourced legal service, legal is going to say, okay, you have to do ABC, but do they really have to do ABC, right? So does a company really have to do SOC 2 at a certain stage? What's better, SOC 2 or ISO? Do you need it? So there's a lot of questions of what do I actually need to do, and this gives that kind of a direction or benchmark they can meet and work towards, and it's also live, so they can improve the information or include further information to improve the score, the trust grade. So that
It must spare time too, because when you're a small company and you have like a lot of prospective partners, everyone wants to assess you. And what you spend your time on is just like working with Excel, because answering all the same questions. Do you use encryption? Do you have a data retention policy?
right,
and so on and so on. It can be spared. It doesn't have to be this way.
exactly. So that's one of our underlying goals, is to remove all that questionnaire back and forth. The questionnaires that ask the same questions over and over again. Sometimes the same questionnaire asks the same question over and over again. And it's a lot of, and from my experience, even the companies sending the questionnaires, when they come back filled out, they don't know what to do with it. They look at it, okay, yeah, that means okay. Is that okay? I don't know. There's no consistent process or and there's also no record of it, right? Once the spreadsheet's done, it's somewhere in a folder. Nobody looks at it. Nobody follows up on it. There's no monitoring. It's another thing that we do is automated monitoring. So if there's any changes to the company, you get notified. So we can see that. Lately, a couple of big companies decided to change their privacy policies and their T's and C's without notifying anyone, like Zoom with their AI.
And we had a media backlash.
Right, but so here would be like, okay, we're using Zoom. That's listed now on vendor management. Our customers would then get a notification saying that there's been a change in the privacy policy. Here's the change. So that's also helps the ongoing monitoring of all your third parties.
And it mustn't be done through Reddit,
Sorry?
It mustn't be done through Reddit.
Right.
Yeah. So as I listen to you, and I'm just thinking like I could use that tool like to give me some red flags on new contractor. Like okay, so we have 3 points that have to be checked really seriously because it matters. Or for example, if I have some green lights on 5 points, it's very important for me as well because it saves my time because actually the robot already has done some job for me and it brings me value. But it also can bring trust between like stakeholders in this B2B sector, because I believe that today's privacy in B2B, B2C is all about trust. So you gave the people opportunity to trust you, and this kind of solutions, as I see, help to build trust in frames of B2B cooperation. Yeah. So this building trust, does it matter really for now in this building maybe relationships between companies and so on? So how can your services, for example, help with that?
Right. So I, yeah, completely agree with the trust. Like in many other things, or most other things in life, it's all about trust. People tend to somehow forget that, but it is about trust. And with the continuous raising of awareness, especially around consumers, around privacy and what their personal data is being used for, and change with that concept of trust is even more important, right? Because you're not going to share something that's important to you with somebody that you don't trust. That's on a B2C level. And we can also see the big tech companies are embracing that. See Apple, privacy, that's Apple. iPhone, that's privacy, that's iPhone. Because a company like Apple spends a lot of money in market research to see what what would resonate with the consumer, so we
Yeah,
can
what matters?
right. Yeah, and they spend a lot of resources on that campaign. You can see it in many different companies that are taking that route. Um, Having said that, I mean, trust is not just privacy, but privacy is a big aspect of it. Now, the AI is also becoming part of the trust, and lots of other things. But when it comes to privacy, building that trust is extremely difficult. Because privacy in itself is complex, and people don't really understand what it means on a B2C, also on a B2B. But I found, also from my experience previously as a consultant and a lawyer, and something like that Kate also mentioned, is that concept of you go into a vendor's website, you immediately with time understand, wait, okay, they've done something about it. Like they're taking it seriously, even if it says GDPR compliant, they've done something that is taking this whole privacy thing into consideration. And I strongly believe that the transparency is a huge factor of it. So the more transparent you are about what types of data you're processing, where you're processing, what the purpose are, what your rights are, etc., that's a huge first step towards trust. And the way you present it, what kind of language are you using? Are you using huge disclaimers, everything complete legalese that nobody understands? For lawyers, it's one thing, but anybody that's not a lawyer, it immediately has that feeling of mistrust, because like, okay, you're trying to hide something maybe. And then combined with the transparency is this concept of trust center, of really just having this one source on your website that's open for everyone that you can access. It speaks a clear language. It provides you access to all the information that you need in a clear fashion. And there's also something that we have on our platforms, this concept of embedment. So you can basically embed your passport onto your website, and you can call that your trust center, and it has all the information in there from a B2B aspect for now anyway, so that the vendor can just come in, a customer could just come in and then have that overview and the grade and all the information they need to conduct that assessment. So it also builds trust, but it also saves resources and time.
Mhm. Yeah, sure, because building trust is really important for me. Maybe as a privacy specialist, when I come on some new website and I see these cookie banners, you know how they have to be made, and I see these dark patterns, like misleading and
Consent,
which
legitimate interest. Consent, legitimate interest. Is like, wait a minute.
yeah, which are catchy, like when you click, but agree on marketing different things you don't want to, and so on. And
Right.
it's like, but they have a nice bear picture which is eating cookies, and you see like, okay, that's nice. Maybe I won't cookies from this bear, I will click it. But
Right.
you agree on Facebook Pixel and all this stuff immediately, and yeah, it triggers me.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'm that guy that if I click on say an article and it gives me that cookie banner with the consent legitimate interest and I scroll through it and 100 vendors and I have to click through it, I usually
Yeah.
don't read the article. If I really want to read it, I sit there and I literally opt out of all of them, and it's really frustrating. And it's just like, why do I have to do this? Other people, but this is the thing. Most people will just say, you know what, yeah, accept all. And that's but yeah, it's a great example. Based on a cookie banner, I can already, even before seeing I don't know, GDPR compliant, if I see a cookie banner that's or with dark patterns, then again, I initially become already suspicious, and then they're gonna have to go through a lot in order to make me build trust in a way that
Yeah,
But
so
who
cookie
is
banner is
writing?
asset.
But who is writing those cookie banners, Anton? First of all, it's usually like, your internal DPO or your internal in-house or everyone else. He drafts or she drafts everything perfectly, like everything on this place. And there comes a marketologist, for example, or anyone else and say, no one will ever agree to that. We have to add this beer. We have to add these cookies. We have to say, hello, we are so happy to see you. It's not okay to try to, to say so dryly as you do that we are collecting cookies to, to monetize you as well as we can.
right.
So
Yeah, we will shoot this dog if you will not agree on cookies. Yeah.
yeah, so it's always like a job of a few people, and no one is really responsible
Yeah,
for that.
it's the love.
So
It's that lovely relationship between marketing and privacy, or marketing
love-hate
and love
relationship, I
hate.
would say.
Yeah, it's more hate from the marketing side. Anyway, it's like I was like, I'll explain to you again. I understand that this is not something you care about, but you should. Yeah, it's a
You
challenge.
will you will care about it once we have like enforcement tracker on our spine here.
Right, and this is a great one of the big challenges of privacy is how do you tell people it's not even a scare tactic, but you tell people this is illegal, we can get fined, and then they'll say, yeah, okay, what are the chances? All the fines are going to the big one. There's no enforcement. There's no this, no that, and whatnot. I'm like, okay, how about this? If something happens, or if you just need TechCrunch to build to have an article about how you're using
Mhm.
dark patterns or whatnot, and the damage to your brand, right? That's really what's happening here. People are not going to trust you. People are going to put you on in this box of, okay, these guys are manipulating our data, manipulating us and whatnot, and that you can't really put a price on. But for
Mhm.
marketing, that's like you spend all this time and money to build your brand and your trust, and because
And
you
lose
don't
it
want a
overnight,
cookie
yeah.
banner, you're just ruining everything, right? It's not even about the fines anymore.
Okay, but how do you see the role of the DPO then? How we can be like, that figure that influences everyone, that like is not a nuisance, but someone that you will willingly come to. How it can be changed, for example, as a result for all this software, privacy software, all of this community of privacy professionals, of pets, of technologies like AI. Will it really change? Or even will still like, the unwanted child of legal departments that like comes and says, no, you cannot do that because GDPR prohibits us from doing so.
Right? Yeah, the fun guy at the party. And I was like, oh no, you can't do that. Sorry.
Nagging everyone about that, yeah.
Yeah. I had a colleague that would start explaining, I don't know, when it was back in Shrimps too, when he was explaining his clients about what it means and what they have to do. And then
Mhm.
he would always finish in it. Yeah, and yeah, I'm fun at parties. Like, okay, it's a topic that nobody wants to talk about. Privacy generally, I feel, is a topic that everyone cares about, but nobody wants to talk about because it's too complex and as a
And the value is not
blocker.
really that clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your question is DPO, I feel that this is a overlying comment. I mentioned it a couple of times already. It's this concept of changing perception and changing approach and understanding that we're not where we used to be. We're in a different time, and we need to adapt to it. And that also includes being open to new technological solutions, new approaches, new processes, etc. I feel that if DPOs, it's a question also how do you define DPO, right? So you can DPO in Europe is statutory or comes from regulation. In the States, it's kind of a, what do they call it, a CPO maybe, global privacy, whatever. Um, but I feel like if they, or even me as a ex DPO, external DPO for dozens of companies, if we make that change and adopt and embrace technology that can help us on our day-to-day mundane repetitive tasks that DPOs spend way too much time on. I'm talking about DPOs. I'm not talking about DPO plus a privacy team of 30 internal, people that are doing all the mundane work. Then if they adopt that and embrace that technology, they can then clear the table and then do what they're actually supposed to do, or what I define as the legislator or the lawmaker had in mind that they should be doing. And that is sitting in a boardroom, even being involved with the C-level, being involved in strategic decisions, building customized privacy programs for that company depending on how each department works, building relationships with internal champions, interdepartmental communications, privacy by design, being involved in the product development, all these things that are a lot high level, that just because they're drowned on a day to day of, oh, we got a DSR request, oh, review this vendor, sales is pushing, we need to get this vendor going, what's with the DPA, what's with this. There's no time to zoom out and look at the high level and get involved on a higher level. So I believe that technology, privacy tech specifically, can and should be a huge factor in that, to clear the table of DPOs to be able to actually do what they should be doing. And I don't think it would replace a DPO. We're far from that. And when our conversation about the AI, for example, we see that there's definitely a long way to go before we can hand that off. And DPO is very much a people. I see it as very much as a people position. You have to be involved in so many different departments of the company. You have to convince people of doing things that they really don't want to do and that may seem like a blocker. But I don't think technology will, replace a DPO anytime soon, or at any time. And I was thinking privacy pros also extremely important for the development of privacy tech, because like AI, it's all about the quality of the data, but also knowing how to extract or use that data, right? By building the right prompts, by asking the right questions, by identifying what's wrong, what's right. Yeah, that's in a nutshell.
So we need privacy software just to make our DPOs more fun at
Right,
parties.
but it needs. But I think I mentioned it before too. But it needs to be privacy tech that really does change. Does really help, and it's not just another glorified spreadsheet where you're basically becoming a slave to another software by having constantly to update it and constantly have to going back to it, and then it's just one more task. So we need automation. We need, yes, we do need the AI to come in and help us out, and we do need to change, look at the status quo and the current processes, and have the the want and the need to change them, to say, okay, let's look at the whole process and say, maybe we can just change the process. Maybe we shouldn't continuously try to fix an existing process, but change it from the core. One more thing I could add to that is just that the challenge of DPOs is also a challenge of budgetary distribution in companies. And,
that's always a problem, yeah.
Right. So
and resources, like in general, for example, because there isn't like a lot of talented people who wanted to work on in privacy. So sometimes you must compete with other legal professions, for example, to find someone well worthy to your team as an addition. And a lot of software is, for example, can be well disenchanted in working with privacy and switch to other legal topics, for example, and, for example, lose the feature that you value the most. So it's always a risk. There's always this paradox that we always have a compliance debt that we have to run to cover.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope that, well, pets and AI will help us to spend more time with our colleagues talking about what they do during their work, except what we do during our work.
100%.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, last time I really liked this your quote that privacy tech solutions should be able to clear the desk, clear the table of DPO in order to make him or her able to do the real job, to make a real impact. And
Go to the field, yes.
Yeah, I
And talk
think
to people.
that is all about. That is what we need actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge also on I've also been reading posts on LinkedIn of DPOs and whatnot, and they say like how do you explain to the C level or to the board what it is you do? Like how do you show ROI on privacy? And that is a very big topic, also for privacy tech. Having to sell your product to a company and tell them, okay, you'll save X, you'll get have an ROI of X, when you can't really quantify the ROI, not in the short term, definitely not in the long term, but there definitely is an ROI. And it's tied directly to the budget, right? If you're going to go say like, okay, we need budget for X, okay, what's the ROI on that? I was like, well, can't really know. But that I think is a topic for an episode in itself. How do you quantify ROI of privacy? But yeah,
it's a good idea actually. We should cover it sometime, Anton.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
we will meet
it's
you again,
important.
Sam, to talk about that.
I'm not the right guy for that because numbers.
But metrics.
Metrics I can give you, yeah.
Yeah, from my experience, you should be able to gain again. You should get trust from different departments. For example, you can go to marketing department, say like, okay, with this magical cookie banner, we will have this and that. Then you go to HRD, so you will be hired to you will be able to hire this kind of people if we will put in place these instructions. Then we will go to I don't know some cybersecurity guys and we'll say we will empower your cybersecurity with this magic wand and all that stuff. So and when you have this trust, when you have this group of people, then you can go and ask for bigger budget because you make an impact.
100%. Yeah, that's why I agree with you. That's what it used to be one of my as a DPO. One of my approach is really to find those internal champions that you build a personal relationship with, which is extremely difficult when you're an external DPO. But as an internal DPO, it's definitely key to have your champions in the different departments that also help you, but you can then help them, implement the things into their department. So it's extremely, yeah, I agree with you. And also for the budget, 100%.
Yeah, and when you get this trust by human relationships, yeah, you can empower all this stuff with privacy tech, and it's a global win-win case actually.
Unite them with software. Yeah. Wow. Like social media, privacy social media for one company.
And there's a conundrum, privacy social media. That's already
A catch name, yeah.
Okay.
Anonymous social media platform. Reddit.
Everyone we are not so proud of, yeah.
Okay, so at this positive note, I think we should end actually. And thank you very much, Sam, for being with us. It was really interesting and useful, I think, for our listeners to understand the key challenges of privacy tech, of how it can be used, and how it can actually empower the privacy program. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite.